So I just was listening to a video this morning from Petra Romanis. It was very good. She was talking about her life of putting a whole lot of demands on herself that eventually created stress problems, which created health problems. And because you have this idea that you've got to be doing something. And believe it or not, I'm not sure God created us that way. And while she was talking, um, and what she was talking about was learning to enter His rest. And she was saying she's very much like me. Like, if it's unnecessary and stupid, then why do it? That's my thought. She calls herself lazy. I'm the same way. Um, it's difficult to get me to motivate to do stuff. I've got to really see the need. Anyway, sorry. Um, the um, the thing is this life wears you down, and the demands that people make and the expectations that are placed on us are ridiculous already. Then you add the spiritual dimension, and see, a lot of us went for years being really driven to do something in our natural life and have this internal struggle of thinking that you have to please God. And it becomes, because you think that God is like the world. So you get saved and you just assume that He is making all these demands and has all these expectations. And you just wear yourself out. I wore myself out to the point where I can't rise up anymore. And I just don't, there's no way. There's no way that I'm going to go back to a works mentality. I'm shot, I'm literally shot, uh, burnt out, and it ain't coming back. And it reminds me in Galatians where it says, if I build again that which I destroyed, I might prove myself to be a transgressor. Can't build it again. Can't go back to that. I've been thoroughly exhausted in religion. I've been thoroughly exhausted emotionally and eternally. I'm shot. I don't have the capacity. I have like PTSD from stress from occults, and uh, my body won't even let me go certain places, like in my mind and in religion, and there's no way I could ever go back to a performance mentality with God. And I grew up in an environment that had a very utilitarian view of humanity. My mom's an atheist and she's a biochemist, and her view is she grew up in a family of farmers, very intelligent farmers that work from morning to night. And my mom never rests. I never see her uh, doing anything but working from morning to night. And she's got this sort of a lack mentality where she saved all her life and um, never bought retail and always felt like, there's going to be an economic crash that's going to be so bad, and she's going to be one of the few survive because she's smart enough to, you know, save and invest and all the stuff that you need to do. And everybody's an idiot. Uh, she looks at humans entirely in terms of whether they are consumers or producers. And in her mind, I'm a consumer. um, and, that pressure is intense. And when you transfer that to God, it's like, wow, He is not like that. Remember what He said. Jesus said, consider the lilies. And He also talked about the sparrows. They don't sow or reap, but the Father clothes them uh, and takes care of them. and he knows the number of hairs on your head. And what that always rang to me when I lost everything 10 years ago and my household collapsed and I lost my job. I got out of that cult, my marriage broke apart, lost my home, found myself back in my mom's basement. Oh my gosh. Went from a pretty high paying corporate IT project management job to literally just being nothing. Some loser, And that's how I looked at it. As God started to recover me, um, that was one of the things he kept bringing me to was, I spent my whole life as an adult worried and full of anxiety about money and full of anxiety about just always fear in the back of my mind that as I grow older, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm going to fall through the cracks. I'm going to be lost because I couldn't live up to any demands. Well, the thing about lilies and sparrows is they don't do anything. And that one showed me that God values life for life's sake. That he loves you not for what you can do for him, not for what your life means or the supposed purpose of your life. That life itself is valuable to him. We say life is sacred, but I could never understand it. I never valued emotions or connection with people or anything that actually matters. I only looked at things in terms of inputs and outputs, consumption and productivity. And I'm being shown a whole new world in the last few years of the love of God and how he looks at a person and he's not looking at the outward man and what we do and what our job is and what, all that stuff is not how he values us. He values us because we're alive and created in his image, and now we have his spirit. We're his home as believers in Christ. We can rest, not so that we can refuel to go do something, but we can actually just be. I don't have to do anything. There's no obligation on me. I'm no longer a debtor to the flesh. I'm not a debtor to the world. I'm not a debtor to Christ. He paid the debts. There's not a debt hanging over my head. Those people say, oh, well, he loved you so much, so now you owe him. He died for you, you owe him. No, he died for you to actually release the burden. He actually died for you so that he could, in his strength, which is limitless and inexhaustible, come into your life and take over and provide for you. And yes, because you have life, you will do things. Life can't not do things. But there's not a demand on you to do things. There's not a demand on you to expend energy trying to maintain yourself or satisfy people. There really isn't. We're free to do those things in his life, but we're not obligated. It's very interesting. Consider how Paul talks about the free will offering. He did encourage the saints to give, but it was according to what they had, and it was according to the Lord's leading, because the Lord loves a cheerful giver. God is not interested in putting a guilt demand on you so that you do things out of a sense of obligation because you're trying to prove your worth. Not at all. And when I look at the Old Testament saints prior to the law, Abraham, or even the line of life from Seth to Noah, I see a restfulness in contrast to the bustling activity of the descendants of Cain, who were building cities and building empires. Abraham could have been something in Babylon, But instead, he ended up dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob. They dwelt in tabernacles. They lived a life that was much quieter, much, but still distinctive and noble. And sure, it had activities in it and stuff. That's not the, but you don't have this sense of the tyranny of the world system bearing down on them. I mean, Abraham's development was slow. Moses spent 40 years on the backside of the desert, uh, before he was put into what he needed to do. There is a there is a season to do things, but there's also a season in God's people of rest. I didn't have any kind of output or product or fruitfulness really for the first 25 years of my Christian life. Other than the first year I got saved, I led a bunch of people to the Lord. And then it was just like nothing. And then now I have a YouTube channel and I know it's helping people. And this is done entirely as an enjoyment from a position of rest. It's totally different than I would have done it years ago. And I tried to do a YouTube channel 2 years ago and it was so dry. I would say it was like sandpaper. I mean, I it was awful. Um, so it's all just interesting. I hope this encourages someone to rest in the Lord and don't value your life in terms of production. Value your life because it's life. And God created you. And it's okay for you to be alive. It's a good thing for you to be alive here. And even if you're not doing anything, He loves it. He loves you. All right, talk to you later.